Welcome to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. Each week on this program, Jeff and his guests share their expertise, personal anecdotes, and the latest industry news to keep you in the loop. Now, to provide you with insight and help you navigate the consistently changing world of real estate lending, here is your host for The Mortgage Voice, Jeff Barton.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. 888-713-2929 is our telephone number. And you can give a call to that number and ask about what is happening with your mortgage. Will your rate adjust? What kind of mortgage do I have? If you have questions about the mortgage you already have and you signed for, and maybe it's 3, 4, 5 years old, maybe it's even older than that. Yeah, we can take a look at it, tell you what you got, tell you what your payments are looking like 2, 3, 5, 7 years down the line. A lot of people during the last 7 or 8 years got a 30-year fix, but there are some out there who are still having adjustable rate mortgages finally adjust. If you got yourself into a 10-year fixed and then adjustable after that, it may be coming due right about now. That means, 2008, 2009, you got a 10-year fixed rate and adjustable after that. If, in fact, you have an adjustable, the adjustables right now for a 5-year ARM, let's say you would get one today, is 4.25%. At the time, in 2009, I believe those rates were pretty close to that. You might have been able to get a 10-year ARM product in 2009 for 3.75%, so it's not too far off if you go with a 5 or a 7 or a 10 now. However, if it is adjusting and you just don't know what to do, give us a call. We have some solutions, have some answers. There's a lot of great new products, and depending on your payment history, your credit, and a bunch of other things, you probably have a ton of equity in there. So yeah, there are things you can do with that particular mortgage if in fact you want to take some money out, or you want to buy maybe a rental property, or some of the other things that you can do with mortgage money that's sitting unused in your home or in your business, or other things that you can take money out of. Anyway, I'm Jeff Barton. Thanks for calling in, if you do call in, and thanks for listening to the show today. The Mortgage Voice on each and every week. We're on about 5 times a week. Inland Empire, high to San Bernardino and Riverside, as well as up in the Tahoe area, and soon to be down in, where is it? Albuquerque, New Mexico. I want to thank those people, fine people, by the way, and although I haven't met any of them, but they are listening to the show, new people to the show. Just for those who may be new this week, we do take some calls. We do get guests on the show. The guests on the show range from real estate agents to mortgage brokers to lenders. We have business experts. Today we have a couple of people coming to the show. One is an entrepreneur who talks about how to make your business more successful. And we also have a business capital guy that lends money out to businesses through their TIN number. And so both of these guests are pretty interesting in terms of how they might be able to help you and your business. And of course, we have from Nations Direct a account executive who can talk about new programs, the programs out there in the market. But ask yourself, what's going on in your market, and what are you looking for if you're looking to purchase, sell, or maybe refinance? As I said, there's tons of reasons you want to do these things, right? You can have a dream to go back to college. You can have a need because there's a medical emergency. You have somebody in your family that you'd like to give the gift of college, or maybe send on a trip, or maybe open a business, or buy another property. All of these cash out refis are good. Let's get into a couple things right away. The mortgage rates, as I talked to a little bit briefly earlier, this week, mortgage rates, 30-year fixed, 4.5%. Been that way. This is the third week in a row. FHA, VA loans at about 4.25%. And your 15-year fixed is about 4.125%. Now, why had we gone from 5% loans, 30-year fixed a month ago, to 4.5% now? There's a lot of different reasons for that. But as you know, we track the 10-year bond in bonds. What are bonds? Treasury bonds being sold by the U.S. government. And what happens when the rates go down? That usually means that the bonds themselves are selling better, right? So if the bonds were not selling well, they would have to lower the yield on those, or raise the yield, which would mean you'd have to raise the interest rates on the loans. It's kind of an inverse reaction when we're dealing with treasuries. So if you're interested, and anybody who's in the mortgage business will tell you that it's made to be confusing because of the fact that the mortgage rate is based on treasury bonds and how they're selling in the marketplace. Now, the treasury sells these in auctions is what they call them. And they sell 2 and 10 and 30. Not so much 30 anymore, but the 2, the 10, these are some of the bonds. So if you go to your website and you look up what's the 10-year note, and you kind of look at whatever the rate is in terms of what it's going to cost you to buy them, and then you look at the mortgage rate, you can start to track where the rates in mortgage goes by basis of what the treasury is. So what we've had is we've had a reduction in the mortgage interest rate to 4.5%, which means obviously that the bonds themselves are selling better, which means that demand is higher, so the yield goes down, and the inverse reaction to that means that also the mortgage rates will go down. So money plentiful in the mortgage market. So if you're looking for money anywhere from, I don't know, $100,000 all the way up to a couple of $1 million, there's a lot of lenders out there. There's a guy named Matt Ishiba. He's been on the show before, and he's the CEO at United Wholesale Mortgage. I read an article that he was interviewed, and he was talking about it. It was on either CNBC or one of MSNBC. One of the 2 or 3 news channels were talking to him, and he was talking about why big banks are going to mortgage brokers and why the consumer should also go to mortgage brokers. Big banks, it's difficult in a volatile market, which is what we have right now, where interest rates are up and down, the demand is less, and for them, it's easier to purchase loans or underwrite loans from mortgage brokers than it is to do it in-house. Why? Because in-house, they have to have 3, 4, 5 people every time they get a loan in, look at that loan. It's salaries, it's overhead, it's a lot of different things. But a mortgage broker takes all that on himself or herself. So in that regard, it's cheaper for the big bank to buy loans from a mortgage banker or accept originations from a mortgage broker. It's just economic sense. For the consumer, according to Matty Shaba, which I happen to agree with him, there's more choice if you go to a broker. If you go to a mortgage banker, the reason is that they are shopping for you. Now, you go to a big bank, you go to Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citi, Chase, they're going to have a plethora of products, right? Seems endless, a lot of different things, but actually they don't. You have to fit into a box that they will fund because of the fact that they only want to do certain types of deals. If you go to a mortgage broker or a mortgage banker, they will be able to shop your loan need to 40, 50, 100 different lenders. Because out there in the marketplace, that's what brokers do. They shop for you, and they try to get the best product, they try to get the best rate, and they try to get you what you're really looking for. Now, the key to all this, of course, is you have to tell the broker what you're looking for. Usually when you're looking for rate, and there's a lot of A-paper people who are what we call rate grinders, meaning that's all they care about. What is my rate? What is my rate? And I understand that and I respect that. But there's a whole different type of borrower who's looking for payment. Tell me what the payment is. They don't care about the rate. Can I afford the payment? Now, it may be a subtle difference, but to me, if you're one or the other, there are options and more of them if you go to the mortgage broker. So that's why I said if you're out there in shopping and you're looking for the best possible deal for you and you've got some time, okay. I had this guy call me 2 days ago. I've known him for years. I mean years, 20, 30 years. And what he did was he said, look, I need a loan. And, my brother-in-law told me, why don't you call Jeff? And I'm like, oh, okay. So he didn't even realize that that's kind of the business that I'm in as well. He called me, we talked, and he, very smart guy, very successful producer in the television business. He was up against it. Didn't know what kind of loan he had, didn't know what kind of loan he wanted. All he knew was his particular job at that particular show was ending, and he needed some money. So I know that I can shop this. I'm with 50 different lenders. I can shop with all of them to get him exactly what he needs, the product he needs, whether it's an ARM product, whether it's a fixed rate product, or whether it's just a short-term loan. Anyway, I'm Jeff Barton.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For more information on today's topic, email Jeff Barton at info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. 888-713-2929. That's our telephone number. If you pick up the phone, give us a call. We can answer your questions about both the rates and the programs and the availability of funds, all the neat, cool things we do here in the mortgage industry, which is really to get you to where you want to be. Either you want to buy a house or you want to refinance a house. Maybe you want to sell a house and get something smaller. Maybe you want to step up because you're about ready to have that, second, third child and you just need more space. There's all kinds of reasons to be able to do that. And by the way, we may have some inventory increase in the next couple of months. Rates have gone back down to 4.5%, so it's probably a pretty good time. I bring to the show all the time great people. April Lopez from Nations Direct is one of those people, and I welcome her to the show now. April, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Good afternoon, Jeff.
And good afternoon to you, too. So we're talking off air, and we're talking about problems in the industry and how difficult it is to get many, many people on the same page with trying to get each and every customer what they need. How is it there at Nations, and how are you guys doing currently in this climate with a little bit of uncertainty?
Well, I find now with borrowers who are self-employed that have alternative means of verifying their income documentation via bank statements because they understand that, based on the gross income they're bringing in, they have expenses and they want to write off every penny to have a nice large tax deduction.
Right.
That now the product out there has broadened significantly where we have been able to reach more buyers and, borrowers who want to refinance based on alternative programs that with the rates that have been pretty steady but a little higher than normal, right? That we've been able to be competitive and they've been able to qualify on these alternative products.
Yeah, give us an example of a particular product for someone who you're talking about, maybe a bank statement program or somebody who is like a business owner who has plenty of cash running through his business but doesn't necessarily have the tax returns to back it up personally.
Absolutely. So our non-agency, as you would call it, or non-QM that most people refer it to, are borrowers who are self-employed. They run a ton of money, like you mentioned, bank statements. We're able to take 12 months of their personal or business bank statements, and we're able to use their deposits, and if it's a business bank statement, less their expenses in order to qualify them for a mortgage. So, and on top of that, we're even willing to go as low as 620 on their FICO scores and up to $2 million in loan amount. So we're able to capture more market above your conforming and high balance, even your jumbo product with a bank statement loan.
Now, Nations Direct, are you guys a retail shop or do you basically do wholesale?
We are wholesale only. Mm-hmm. We actually give back to our broker partners with leads that ever come back.
Right.
We service about 70% of our business, and we are strictly wholesale.
I've been talking on air today about the reason why Matty Shaba from United Wholesale and a number of other larger players in the field are recommending that mortgage brokers be used more than going to, let's say, a big box bank. Simply put is there's more choice when you go to a mortgage broker, and because your company services that sector, what do you think about that?
Well, I absolutely agree. I find that, I tell the consumer, you always want to shop, you want to go to the big banks to kind of get an idea, but the pricing, the rates, if you will, are merely maybe a quarter difference here or there, but you've got these brokers have 20 different lenders to choose from to place that particular buyer in the right box. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a Bank of America or a Wells Fargo. Right.
I always find that, and as I said earlier too, is that if you're a paper borrower, and let's say your FICO score, your credit score is above 750, which would place you in that A paper group, right? You're more apt to be rate shopping. However, if you fit in the other group, which a great vast majority of the people do, you need choice. You need somebody that can offer you the greatest choice. And I think that's where your company servicing our business and as mortgage brokers really helps us, because we're able to do exactly that, offer solutions that can't be gotten from somebody at a larger bank, especially if you don't have a paper credit.
Yes, and then the understanding of how to make, how to come up with solutions and options, because at a big bank, they're busy, right? And
Right.
they are really, cookie cutter, you got to fit the box, and they don't have the time and the
Right.
manpower to be able to sit down with that borrower and say, let me look at all of these options that you might have, and then spend a little bit extra time in order to make, a purchase or refinance happen for that borrower.
Yeah, give me an example of some of the really popular programs that you're running right now.
Right now, we're running we call it our self-employed. We have what's called our purchase program, our power purchase program. So we're running a self-employed flex program where we're giving amazing pricing that starts as low as rates of 5.375 for purchases, 20%, 15% down. We're running another thing that's very common is asset depletion. So a borrower has money that is sitting in the bank. We can actually use those reserves as income to qualify in order to also get them a mortgage.
How does that work?
So basically how it works is we take, say their bank account has $3 million.
Right.
There's two ways of calculating, but the most simplest way is we take 5 years, 60 months of their principal and interest payments and their monthly debt. And if their reserves can cover 5 years, 60 months of those monthly payments, then they automatically qualify for an asset depletion.
Yeah, that's
Very
cool.
simple.
Yeah, and that is either business or personal?
Absolutely.
Wow, that's a great deal, because I know a lot of companies do have that. It really depends on, I guess, the cost of the real estate and as a result of looking at real estate, where do you think we are in terms of both inventory and availability?
So, we saw so much inventory come back towards the end of the year, and I thought, we had a small correction over the holidays, but I have to
Right.
tell you, these agents are full force ahead. I think we're going to have an even larger, incremental increase, and it will have another good year and a half in it, with all else failed, right? But
Right.
I see that we're going to have another flourishing market. The summertime's going to be crazy,
Right.
and definitely more inventory is already starting to hit.
Oh, I think that's good. Okay, the dreaded R word. Do you think it's coming this year or next year?
I think next year.
Yep. Okay.
I think we have another good year in it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I like that. I know I've been warning my particular audience that we see a coming recession. No, I'm not the only one. Heck, just go to the internet and you can see all the dire prognostications of what's coming. The latest one came out today from CoreLogic, just looking at the way that the price increases in real estate have really dropped from what they were historically at a great rate. I mean, of increase in prices last 2 years, to whereby this year and even now month to month is really not as accelerated as it's been. It's still going up, but not as accelerated. So I think the recession is coming. I'm just not sure when.
I agree, and I think we're going to, definitely have a couple of rate increases still, but it's not going to be like it was last year, and I think
Right.
it's just going to stabilize. And, we'll see. I think the summer is going to be telling, but I feel we have another robust year in it.
Now, you have kids. How are they doing?
So the kids are, these millennials,
Yep.
they're really they're struggling.
Yep.
They are trying to find their way, and it's a lot tougher for them. So I noticed that they're, they're staying in their homes longer with their parents.
Yep.
And they just, they are really, they're struggling. But I mean, at the same time, I feel that we've kind of put that pressure on them. So it's hard to come out of college and you have this degree and you can't even get a job,
Yep.
in the place you want to be. But, thank you for asking. definitely trying to make it work.
Well, that
sure.
that particular problem of getting out of college and then finding work, right? So, if this is still a persistent problem, then it's a problem for all of us because all of these kids got to get out. They all got to work. They all got to be taxpayers in order to make the whole thing work. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Because I'm old. I'm not going to do this forever.
No, absolutely. And we think, hey, we want to give our kids the tools, necessary to go out and be successful, and we do that, right?
Right.
And we really want them to be there, but unfortunately, they're not quite there yet. But we've done the best we can. So
Yep.
What else more can we do at this point?
Right. Hey, you want to shout out your phone number in case somebody wants to call you about a program or what you've been talking about on the radio? That'd be great.
Absolutely. April Lopez at Nations Direct, 818-398-1272.
April, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Have a great day.
And you do too. And I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For more information on today's topic, email Jeff Barton at info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. 888-713-2929. That's our telephone number. If you pick up the phone and give us a call, we can help you with your questions about mortgages for purchase, for refinance. Maybe you want to take money out. Maybe you want to take money out and buy something else. Identifying what your weaknesses and strengths are financially in order to qualify for a mortgage. That's what we do. We do it each and every day. There's 6 bits of information that are needed in order to be able to help you. And the people on the show, the people at Malibu Funding, and by the way, Malibu Funding Inc. is the company that I also work for. They sponsor this show. I want to say a shout out to them. Thank you very much for doing that. Go to their website, malibufunding.net, and you can see exactly who these people are. There's 40, 50 different loan officers there, the company. Anyway, enough about them. I want to get right directly to our next guest, who I'm most excited about. First time on the show, Dave Hall. And is it David or Dave?
Both are fine.
Okay, excellent. Okay, he does something which I think everybody out there could probably use who's in business. Now, we get a lot of businesses themselves who listen to the show just because it has more of a business affect to it. He does breakthrough coaching program for businesses to bring them to the next level. So bring him on now. David, thank you very much for coming on the show.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Okay, let's get right to the heart of the matter. What do you do for someone who comes to you and says, look, I need help?
Sure. Well, first of all, we work with business owners only. We work with entrepreneurs. And what we find with many entrepreneurs is they get to a certain level and they tend to run out of themselves. They run out of time, energy, et cetera. And what we do is we take a 1-year process to reshape all the mindsets that are, really keeping that person stuck. For example, an entrepreneur is kind of notorious for just thinking that he or she is the best person to do anything and everything, and nobody can do it better. And and if I give it to somebody else, I can't trust them. All of those kind of mindsets that just frankly get us in trouble at some point.
Now, I've taken Tony Robbins, and I've been to Mike Ferry. I don't know if you know who these people are. You probably do. And both of them have a certain idea, philosophy behind what they do. Do you have one as well in terms of how you approach this?
Yeah, I think the philosophy that we have is first of all, we focus on the individual. And we have a 3-day process of really just going through and identifying mindset changes that the entrepreneur is really, again, getting stuck by. And so it's really a personal growth process that then transforms the business because our mindset is if the entrepreneur isn't right, then how can the business really get to the next level?
Your description of the entrepreneur, and of course we all call them mom and pop shops, right? Because without mom and pop, there is no shop, and that's kind of the mindset that most everybody who starts their own business, they have pride in it, they want to continue it, they want to have an iron grip on things, but as you say, that's probably what's holding them back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, the things that worked in the beginning and through to a certain stage begin to break down. So in effect, you've got to flip over those mindsets and be willing to take the risk of hiring the right people to take care of the things that you're not best suited for, and so that you can get on with the things that you are best suited for. So, the idea of unique talent is very much a part of what we do as well. One of the other big components is the whole understanding of customer and client base. I'm a CPA by trade. I had a CPA firm for 21 years, and I found that I reached a certain level with tax returns, as an example, and we were charging maybe $250. This is back in the 90s.
Right.
And I just realized that I had to deal with 300 husbands and wives coming in, and usually they were on different wavelengths, and I would have to try to, tell them that they owed money and all this, and then have to get paid. So it was just, I really got tired of that kind of mentality, and so I decided to trade in my tax practice for audits, and I could make, say, $2,500 or $25,000 on an audit, and so I was able to reduce the number of relationships that I had to deal with, and so it freed up my time and it allowed me to protect my free time and just a whole number of range of good things, on a personal and a business level.
Give me an idea of some of the customers that you're working with, not them specifically, but the businesses that they're in. I mean, what do you have a specialty, a niche, or do you kind of?
Yeah, I mean, we work with all entrepreneurs, but I would say that the service business and professional service specifically is I guess that's just my own background, so I just tend to work well with professionals. So if it's realtors, if it's doctors, lawyers, accountants,
right.
Anybody in a professional service business would be perfectly suited for what we do.
When do they hit the burnout rate? I mean, I've been in business many, many years, and obviously this particular radio show invigorated me to take my business in a different direction and a new thing. But that's just my personal story. When somebody is in a business, let's say they're in the mortgage business or in the real estate business. Take me for an example. I did it for 20 years and lost steam. As you were saying, I just, same thing each and every day. I'm tired of dealing with this particular aspect of it. I don't want to have to, fight the wars each and every day. And I found myself less and less motivated to go to the office. Is this kind of a typical client that you would deal with?
Yes, exactly. And again, it's classic. You do great work, but then you reach. It could be different things for different people. You mentioned you just kind of lose sight of energy, and the thing that originally got you excited no longer does that. So,
right.
In the example you just said, it would be a matter of redefining what it is that you are really unique at and really want to do at this point. Because after 20 years, I'm sure you have a certain success at your business, so you have the ability to kind of, delegate and then allow yourself to get to be working on the things that you're best at. Or you might even decide that there's another business.
Right.
So you have to think outside the box sometimes on this thing.
Now, do you deal with startups, people that are just beginning their business, to try to help them realize what their roadblocks might be mentally?
Yeah, we absolutely deal with startups. And again, a startup has unique issues. And what we also find is that the baby boomer generation, like myself, has had you might have had a reasonably successful career, but now you're kind of rethinking, starting something new, and so it's a perfect fit for somebody like that.
Okay. We're speaking with David Hall for the Breakthrough Coaching Program, mainly for businesses, taking them to the next level. He's with us here on the show today. So where are you headed in your own particular business, in your growth cycle? I mean, obviously, your personal story is intriguing to me just because I love to hear successful people take on new challenges. And this, to me, seems like something that, is like that.
Yeah, and in fact, as the CPA business and the coaching business are very different, as you can imagine.
Right.
CPA business just focused on the numbers, more of a formal mentality. Coaching is kind of flipping it over and being extroverted and all of that. And I've been able to do that because I have found that my own personal story of growth was so impacting for me that I found myself wanting to do the things that I was, being coached at. And so that's where this entire program has come from, my own stories and taking, taking bits and pieces from other programs that create this, this unique experience over 1 year.
Okay. I love that. I want to get your phone number out. Can you shout out the phone number you'd like people to call you and maybe give the website address?
Of course. My phone number is 214-766-8413. And the website is mybreakthroughcoach.com.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Give us one last bit of advice that you might be able to give somebody who's struggling like myself, always struggling.
Yeah, again, I think I just want to make sure that it's understood. We're not going to try to give you the quick fix. We know that changing mindsets and changing habits do take time, and so our program is over 1 year. You can go to a lot of events and get good insight into things, but where are they 2 weeks later? You're back out in the real world, and you're stuck again. So we are there with you on a quarterly basis and a personal one-on-one coaching as well. So I really believe our implementation is really the the keystone of what we do and to help achieve your big goals.
David, thank you very much for coming on the show today on such short notice. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you bet. Thanks a lot, Jeff. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much. That's David Hall from Breakthrough Coaching Program, and I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For more information on today's topic, email Jeff Barton at info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. 888-713-2929 is telephone number. Pick up the phone, give us a call. Let's talk mortgages. Yes, that's the name of my new book. It's called Let's Talk Mortgages with Jeff Barton of The Mortgage Voice. Actually, I don't have a book. I'm just saying if I did have a book, that would be an absolutely awesome title. We're here to offer solutions for things that you need to talk about, especially when it comes to your mortgage. Laughing in the background is our next guest, and I really appreciate him coming on the show once again to talk about what he does and how he helps businesses. It's kind of been on the business side today on the show from Business Capital Experts, of course, is Reed Blake from Las Vegas, Nevada. Reed, how are you?
Good, my friend. Good. And how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you very much. Although, as I was saying off air a little bit, I have a little bit of a tickle I've had all week, and I just can't seem to shake it. Anyway, other than that, I'm doing great. I understand you just...
I think you should write that book. That is a great title.
Thank you very much. I've tried, and you probably are more attuned to doing this than I am, but sitting down and writing a speech or a proposal. I know you just got back from Dallas where you gave a talk. When you address audiences and when you talk to groups of people or when you prepare something like that, how long does it take you to do that? And the intent, the focus, is it on the written word or is it on, a bullet points about what you're going to say?
Oh, that's a great question. This presentation is more of a presentation I give frequently because the topic is appealing to folks. My presentations are not so much bullet points as they are visuals.
Okay.
And so they're visuals up that are being projected up in the ballroom screen, and then I'm talking. It's kind of a consultative presentation. We're outlining challenges that business owners face in getting funding. We talk about the amazing success we have. We give them some great content that they ought to know as business owners, whether they do business with us or not. And then we go over exactly what the qualification criteria there. So it's really, it's real clear, but they're mostly visuals. And then we talk about stuff so that, they're getting it. We're not having them, read a lot on the screen, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I like the idea that you're using visual cues to tee up what you say, because I assume that as soon as you see the picture, you know exactly what you want to say about what they're seeing to involve them as much as possible. So given that, what is it exactly that you can help a small business to do to grow their business?
Well, really three things, and they're all centered around obviously the genesis is money.
Right.
Money. But what we do that we've sort of just fallen into by referrals and by just exploding in this area is we help business owners acquire unsecured, cash-based business lines of credit. So they have a line of credit. It's forever money. They get to use it over and over and over and over and over again. The second thing that we do very, very well is we do unsecured cash loans. So again, unsecured cash loans, which the business owners then are, wired into their accounts, and these are monies that they can deploy, capital they can deploy however they choose to, how they best see fit. Unlike standard money, that if you went, like a real estate person, if they went to get a hard money loan,
right,
they list the 5 things that they need, for which they need the money, and how much is in each category.
Right.
It's called pro forma. You and I would call it a budget. They can only spend the money that way. So those first 2 categories are the ones that we really help folks with, because, again, those unsecured lines of credit, they can use that money however they choose, and it's forever as long as they keep in good standing. The unsecured cash loans, once again, no restrictions, where they spend it, how they spend it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then the third thing is we do the traditional funding. So for real estate investors, we provide the private money, the soft money, the hard money, et cetera. For the regular non-real estate business owner, we do everything. So we've helped fund restaurants and truckers. We did a yoga studio down in there.
That's the one I like best, the yoga studio. Yeah, that's good. How is that doing? How's that business doing?
They're doing very well.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's a bikini coffee shop up in the Northeast, I understand.
Oh,
anyway.
That's excellent. I love the idea that there are people out there who can help small businesses, because it's very, very difficult, and has been for years, to try to go and get from a normal lender, Chase or Bank of America or any of these large Wells Fargo banks, and go in there and say, look, I've got this yoga studio, or I've got this, whatever it is that you're trying to promote, and I need a loan of, $30,000, $40,000. What can you do for me? And they'll show you the door, and you leave.
Well, you're absolutely right, Jeff. As you know, because we've talked about this, statistically speaking, 97% of small business owners are declined when they're applying for monies exclusively in their business name.
Right.
In fact, the statistic says this: about 97% of business owners applying for funding in their business name are turned down about 100% of the time.
It's unbelievable.
3% are approved. And the good thing about that is if you're in the 3%, you're being approved about 100% of the time.
Right.
And that's where we get our clients. We know what to do to get them, for lack of a better way of saying it, funding ready, so that they're in a position to be able to take advantage of that. And again, rarely is it even 100%, but pretty close. Our clients, are funded just a little over 96% of the time.
Hey, give me a quick sketch about, I walk in or however I get in touch with you. I'm sure you have a website, phone number, however I get in touch with you or whoever the people at your shop or your company, and I say, look, I have a business. I want a business line of credit. How do I go about it?
Yeah, what we do, excuse me, I think I've got the frog too.
Yeah, I think I passed it over to you. There you go.
Anyway, what we do is pretty straightforward. The first thing we do is we kind of take the client a little bit through basically 6 concepts or 6 principles that we do, so they understand exactly what we're doing, because most small business owners are unfamiliar with this type of funding. Mm-hmm. We just kind of go over it. We lay it out, what our results are, frame what their expectations should be. Again, as you know, we take clients, not just a one-and-done kind of thing. We take them through a 24-month period. Right. And in what we're doing, so that somewhere during that time frame, they'll hit between $500,000 and $2 million of unsecured operating capital. Anyway, so we do that. The second thing we then do is we complete basically a questionnaire. They can do it with a live rep, or they can just do it right online with us, and then we do the analysis. We do a soft pull on their credit, right? Because most small business owners are unaware that there are business credit bureaus. Maybe they've heard of Dun & Bradstreet, but they're unfamiliar with Experian and TransUnion. Mm-hmm. And Experian, just like they have a FICO score for personal, they have an IntelliScore for the business. And most small businesses don't have that. So in the absence of that history or track record, the unsecured funding sources will take a look at their personal situation. The funds aren't tied to their personal, but they'll take a look at it. Anyway, so we do that, and what we do is we do an evaluation, we create an analysis, we recap it into a single document, and then we meet with the client and we go over that document, showing them what they look like to an unsecured funding source, the strengths, the weaknesses, the science of what we do, the art of what we do. To that point in time, they give us the double thumbs up, and away we go. That whole process from beginning to end never takes more than 10 days. 7 to 10 days, we have the client completely through the beginning underwriting, and they start to see their first funding in 24 to 72 hours after we've done that quote game plan call. And we review everything with them, and they rock and roll. And so it's pretty exciting. It happens very, very quickly. Most small business owners have all their money in 20 to 30 days in round one.
Now, in the type of economy we have, it's been growing. Real estate prices are going up. Certainly, the economy looks terrific. What about in the reverse? How does your business model work if the economy is not so great, if real estate prices are falling, if we've got some issues short term, like everybody's talking about in a recessionary period? How does it work then?
Oh, that's really good. It goes to one point. If I come to maybe answer it reverse order, so to speak.
Yeah, go ahead.
We believe that every business owner, especially on the unsecured, lines of credit, the unsecured cash-based lines of credit. And I insert the words cash-based, Jeff, because I don't want people to think that these are Vistaprint or Home Depot accounts.
Right.
Those aren't the things that make or break a business. It's access to real funds, real monies to build a dream. Having said that, we emphasize heavily, get qualified, get approved, get these lines of credit now before you need them, so they're there when you do need them.
Right.
When you don't need them, so they're there when you do. Because again, markets and economies change. So the sooner you have these, and you exercise wise stewardship, and you develop the track record that you know how to use them, pay them back, etc. You're building those business scores. You're building what's called your internal institutional score and things like that. Then those funds can still be there when economies contract. But what really starts to happen as economies contract or you dip into a recession is the underwriting guidelines constrict. So right now they're very, very liberal. But what will happen when the recession comes in, then
they'll get tighter.
Those underwriting guidelines, they just get, they're more constricted.
Hey, Reed, could you shout out your phone number so people can get a hold of you? We're up against a time frame here, so I apologize for that.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I'll just give them my direct number. Let me give everybody that direct number.
Okay.
It's 801-830-6240.
Okay, excellent.
Again, that number is 801-830-6240.
Okay, great. And what's your website, quickly?
Oh, it's www. Oh, yeah, everybody knows that. Business Capital Experts. All of it spelled out. BusinessCapitalExperts.com.
Reed, thank you very much. Great information. I'm sure you'll get a lot of calls. There's a lot of interest and need, especially now with the economy that may go south in about 12 months. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Make hay while the sun shines out.
Exactly right. Thank you very much. That's a Reed Blake from Business Capital Experts. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For more information on today's topic, email Jeff Barton at info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. 888-713-2929. That's our telephone number. The email is info@malibufunding.net. You can see us on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and look up my channel, it's Jeff Barton, the real estate voice, and you'll see this show as well as many, many, many others, as well as the Las Vegas Real Estate Show, which we air once a week out in the city of Las Vegas. There are many opportunities to get the information that we have to you. My Twitter handle is @Jeff6493, and some of the information that we have today will be available on YouTube in the end of the week. So if you can't listen in to KCAA, KMET, K Tahoe, and K Albuquerque, then KTBD, exactly right. Thank you very much. You certainly can get it on YouTube. So write it down. And if you have questions, I give out that phone number all the time. If you have questions and you don't know exactly what the question is, or you're a little bit nervous about talking on the radio, call me. Email me. info@malibufunding.net. However you want to ask a question, we can certainly help. And if I can't help you, I'll direct you to somebody who can. There are many people who are great in our business, and most everybody wants to work hard and do for you the best that they possibly can. Now, there are certain shops, certain banks, certain places you go where you seem like a number, and you're just really not that important. But I will tell you that the personalized service you get with mortgage bankers, mortgage brokers, people who really their livelihood depends on closing that loan for you. Now, if you're getting a salary at one of these bigger shops or one of these large banks, it is not the same, even though they're under different constraints. They're going to eat because they get salaries. In the mortgage world, as a professional out there, as a broker or as a banker, you don't eat unless you close the loan. So there is a greater scrutiny on us in terms of both compliance, making sure the loans are done correctly, as well as the underwriting process. But really, we work a lot harder because we have to. The only way, as I said, that we pay our mortgages and pay the dental bill for the kids and get people into college and pay for that is by closing mortgages. So you're going to get the best service, you're going to get the best person, and you're probably going to have the best deal possible from somebody who is smaller and in an independent world. All right, a couple of things. I recently went through a fire in where I live, and it was devastating, burned the whole town down. Now, there's a lot of these fires. They happen all the time. I don't know. Daryl, you've been watching what's going on in the Midwest with the temperatures?
Yeah, it's horrendous.
I know. I mean, I saw one today, minus 35.
They said with the chill factor, there's one particular town in the Midwest that was going to be minus 62, which was going to be beyond being able to live outside for more than 5 minutes.
Right. You can't, okay. So there's weather going on all over the country. And certainly here in California, we have we have more than our share with the fires and the earthquakes and the droughts and the flooding and, not to mention other man-made disasters. And we don't have to get into that. But one of the companies that I have been looking at in terms of in all of these disasters, there are people who are going to take advantage of it financially by calling you on the phone and saying, hey, look, you may have something wrong with your house. Why don't you let me come over, look at it, and then I'll give you a quote, right? Okay, so my wife and I decided we didn't want to use a company like that. What we wanted to do was hire a company that all they did was look at the problem and tell you what it was. Not offer a solution, but just tell you in an honest way by, you paying them a fee that there's a problem with you. And they're testing companies, right? Whether they test the air, they test the ground, they test the surfaces of your house, your roof, things that would quite normally be the purview of a contractor, somebody that would come over and say, okay, fine, here, yeah, it looks like you've got some damage. Here's the cost of repairs. I'll do the repairs, and then let's move on. So there's a company called Ellis Environmental, and I was looking at it. I like them. I'm trying to get them on the show. So through the fires, if you're not in the fire zone, as I don't think anybody in my San Bernardino Riverside area is this year in the fire zone, but they were last year, and they will be in the future. And this particular company is a testing company. That's all they do. Now, normally what they end up doing, you may have read about it in the paper. There are school systems and public buildings and asbestos-related commercial buildings that have had to be, fixed. And companies that go in there to look at the problem are companies like this. They test the air quality, they test the water, they test the ground. As I said, these type of companies will give you a report based on, the type of testing that they do. So for the fire, this company, Ellis, they sent out, or actually they didn't send out, I researched them, found them. So I want to just read a couple of things that they will do. They'll come out and they'll test for it. Now, there are government standards for everything. There are government standards for, what's supposed to be in your water. There are government air standards. There's CEQA, the Southern California Environmental Quality Group. There's the air quality. All of these things in order to try to make your life better. But if you're a paranoid person, and believe me, I'm not, but there is somebody in my family who is, there are a number of ways that you can calm yourself by getting actual professionals who say, you know what, your house is fine, or you know what, it's a little over. But in my house, and maybe this is true in your house, the divergent ways to deal with these problems are vast, right? So we found this company. Here's what they do. They test for airborne mold. surface mold, allergens, ultrafine dust particles emitted from printers and copiers. I bet, Daryl, did you know that you can get pollution and have a problem with your printer or your copier?
Never crossed my mind.
Never crossed my mind. But this list, all inclusive as it is, now I'm sure this is really legitimate stuff. But can you imagine if you're working for a large company for a number of years and you get a hold of this and you go, as a manager, you'd be like, I don't think we want to have these boys in. Okay, so, and respirable and nuisance dust, usually from nearby construction activity. Now, we had 45-mile-an-hour winds on top of rainstorms, on top of fire in my area, 10 feet from my house for 3 months.
And didn't you say that all the houses surrounding you are going to need to be rebuilt?
They all have to be rebuilt.
So the construction dust is going to be rampant in your neighborhood as those houses are going to be rebuilt.
The fire dust, you think about, okay, it's ash, it's fire. Yeah, but what's in that ash? And that's what they're testing for, right?
Well, they were talking about the mudslides, right? They start out to be virgin mud, but by the time they pick up cars and houses and stuff, it's a toxic sludge when it gets into the bottom of the hill.
Toxic sludge.
So they can't just scoop it up and take it somewhere. They need to remediate it somehow before they can put it somewhere.
It's unbelievable. Okay.
Send it to the moon or whatever.
Hydrogen sulfide. You know what that is?
It sounds bad.
Sewage smell.
Oh,
okay?
Wow. Okay.
They test for that.
I got it.
Airborne asbestos. Now that one's real to me. Bulk asbestos, absolutely. Airborne lead, absolutely. Damaged lead paint. Now, anybody who's out there in the real estate world will tell you that since 1973, you are not allowed to have lead in your walls, in your paint, that you use. Now, some of the older homes, and everybody lives in a home or near a home that was built, well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people, that was built in the 40s or the 50s or the 60s. But 1973 is a long time ago. So if you're in a house built after that time, you don't have to worry about the lead thing. But that is real. Kids used to chip it off and eat it. It's terrible. Volatile organic compounds. They're called VOCs.
Volume of contaminants.
Yes, exact. Thank you. And let's see. What's another? Formaldehyde. In case you live next to a funeral
mortuary.
Home. Exactly. Propane. Other contaminants depending on site-specific needs. So I'm reading this list and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, there's no chance we're going to come up clean in this report. So now we'll have to get into remediation. Now, years ago when we got and we got about a minute left, I'll just quicken up the story. When mold was a big issue here in Southern California, and everybody was testing for mold. Now, mold exists everywhere. It exists in the Mojave Desert. It's just add water, you get mold. And that's kind of...
Some in my refrigerator.
It's just everywhere. So for a while, if you had mold, you had to have these people come in with hazmat suits and, plastic up the whole little mold area. Since that time, of course, it's changed. So if you have mold in your house on your baseboard or somewhere else, you cut it out, you bleach it, you throw the thing away, you replace it with new, and then the mold's gone, right? That's kind of what it is. So I'm hoping that this particular report that we're going to get, and I don't know what it costs, I'll let you know next week, that it will actually go away by either small fixes. Otherwise, it'll be another cost that I can't even imagine how much it'll be to remedy. Anyway, that's my lament for today. Thank you very much for joining us for the show. I'm Jeff Barton. Thanks, Daryl, for jumping in.
Pleasure.
And we will see you next time. I'm Jeff Barton for The Mortgage Voice. Bye.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. For more on today's topic, visit www.malibufunding.net.